Did you know that Jesus makes an unexpected stop to meet with someone before finishing his mission and returning to his Father in heaven? Well, let's talk about it on 3-Minute Theology. This video is part 5 of a series of videos on understanding the afterlife. I encourage you to go and check out my previous videos on this topic. So, we talked about how Jesus went to Hades, not hell, and preached to those who had died who were in the paradise part of Hades. Then he leads them out. But before Jesus takes them and goes to his Father in heaven, he stops by to visit a woman next to his empty tomb. John 20 records the story. Mary Magdalene was weeping outside the tomb, and 2 angels appear and ask her why she's crying. She responds that they've taken the body of Jesus away, and she doesn't know where they put him. She turns and meets the resurrected Jesus, but doesn't recognize him at first until he says her name, and then she realizes it could only be Jesus. She goes to touch him, and Jesus says something important in John 20:17. He says, "Do not touch me, because I have not yet ascended to my Father." Now, depending on the translation you read, some use the word cling, which is interesting because the same Greek word is almost always translated touch, which is what I think is more accurate. I think he's actually saying, "Don't touch me." And then he says, "I am ascending," as in present tense. Jesus was in the process of ascending to his Father, and he stops to see Mary. Jesus later appeared to the disciples, and they were allowed to touch him. So why couldn't Mary? Well, I believe the most likely reason is because Jesus was about to walk into heaven as our high priest. In fact, Hebrews 9:11 tells us this. Well, based on the purity requirements for the Jewish high priest on the Day of Atonement, he had to enter the presence of God completely clean, which meant he wasn't allowed to touch anything unclean. According to Hebrews, Jesus is our high priest, and I think he wanted to enter heaven honoring the purity requirements, which is why Mary couldn't touch him until after he ascended to his Father and came back, which is exactly what happened several verses later. So he tells Mary that she can't touch him, but then he does something remarkable. He tells her to go tell the other believers that he is alive and is ascending. Mary holds a special place in Scripture as being the first person to see the resurrected Jesus, and this is important. I believe that Mary is one of the most important places to start when we discuss the role of women in ministry. While Jesus selected 12 male apostles, it's fascinating that almost all of them abandoned Jesus, and yet it was Mary that was the first person to see Jesus after his resurrection. She was entrusted with the most important message in history, that Jesus was alive. She was essentially appointed as an apostle to the apostles. To me, the conversation about the role of women in ministry has to start right here, and we must ask ourselves what Jesus was trying to assert by taking this detour to meet with a woman named Mary. I believe Jesus was declaring that women not only can carry the gospel message, but must for the mission of God to be accomplished. From that meeting, Jesus then ascends to his Father with the believers from Hades and enters heaven. And we'll look at what happened in heaven next week. But that's all for this 3-Minute Theology. Until next time.